This is Ndtv, and you're watching Classics.
Today we come to you not from a plush air-conditioned office, but from a traditional block printing workshop in a village called Bagru outside Jaipur. It is here that brands like Fabindia originate from. Fabindia is a brand which has been responsible for the entrance of several indigenous weaves into the wardrobes of many people. Time now for us to meet William Bissell, Managing Director, Fabindia, a company with an annual turnover of 125 crore rupees. How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks.
All right, now let's go back in time. Now, it was in 1958 that your father came from America to India.
That's correct.
How did he decide to start Fabindia? What did he do before he started Fabindia, and what brought about the idea?
He was a merchandiser at Macy's, which was at that time one of the great US retailers. And the government of India was looking for people to help them start retail in India. This was really the first retail revolution. And so he came here on a 2-year mission in 1958 and fell in love with Indian textiles and decided that when his term was over, that he would stay behind and start a company in retail and export in India. So that was in 1960. So Fabindia started in 1960 as an export company. And we worked with villages, and that was the company's mandate, to work with crafts in rural areas. So it made sense for someone to come along and actually take those things to market as they were dying out. Because these printers like RK were sustained two ways, either through royal patronage, the Raja would give them a grant, or because local people bought their products. As local people moved to synthetics because they were cheaper and more wearable, more durable, and royal patronage died out, they had no future. So we created a modern market with modern consumers in cities.
All right. And when did you become a part of Fabindia?
I joined the company in 1993, and it was predominantly an export company at that point. We had only one retail store. And today we are very fortunate. We've just opened our 32nd retail store.
All right. Now, you have a production unit which is fairly traditional, and you are using marketing options like e-selling.
We believe distribution is the crux of our business. They know their craft, we should know our distribution.
It's 8:30 in the morning and we're having some breakfast here. Well, that's an interesting looking breakfast basket.
Yeah, it's our touring basket. We take it whenever we have to go on tour, and this is our touring breakfast. So,
do you have a lot of workers working in your own production units, or do you outsource your work?
We don't have any of our own units. Fabindia's mandate is to work in rural areas with artisans who produce traditional craft. That's the company's mandate, and that's what we've been following. And it doesn't make sense for us to have our own units because these people are able to do the work. They've been involved with businesses for generations. Like in RK's case, कितने पीढ़ी हो गए आपको इस काम में?
वो तो सबसे शुरू है क्योंकि बगरू यहाँ से 425 साल पुराना है.
Some would say, your critics would say that Fabindia's products are priced very highly. Now, in that, A, what's your argument to that? And B, how much is it that the artisans really get to share out of the amount you earn on, let's say, a kurta?
At the rural level, what you see is that by focusing on craft, the product might be a little more expensive if you compare it to an industrially made product. But if you compare it to a similar handmade product, I think our prices are very competitive. But you have to then compare apples with apples and not, because if you compare it to a mill-made, high volume fabric or something imported from China, then of course you're just comparing a shirt with a shirt and not looking at what it's made of.
All right. And to answer the second part of my question, which is for every thing sold by Fabindia, how much of it do the artisans really get?
They get a third.
One third of it.
One third.
All right.
See, one third goes for the raw material, which usually goes for, well, that also ends up in a, if it's cotton, it's with the farmers. If it's wool, it's, you know, one third is the raw material cost. A third is a markup, which covers, you know, having stores in expensive retail locations and the margin of profit. And a third is what goes to the artisans.
All right. Tell me, over the years, how have the numbers of the workers that you have been working with, how has that increased?
We've gone from we directly employ 600 people who work in the organization. And indirectly, we've gone from employing about 6,000 people to just under 40,000 people.
All right, 6,000 to 40,000. Not only have the number of weavers that work with Fabindia increased, but so have Fabindia's retail stores. And one of the new retail stores in Jaipur is our next stop. Two retail stores in different parts of the country, one in Rome and another one in Dubai, and this is the 33rd retail store that Fabindia is coming up with in Jaipur. William, going ahead, what are the expansion plans both in India and internationally?
Well, in India we have, as you just said, this is the 33rd store. It's on schedule. It should be opening in about 10 days. I'm here for a site visit. We are planning another 60 stores in India in the secondary cities and the smaller towns. As far as going abroad is, we're looking at fast-growing economies abroad, and today outside India, you basically have the Gulf region, which is booming thanks to oil prices and a lot of immigration, and you have China, which is also booming. I've been there. The economy is where we hope India will be 10 or 15 years from now. And I think it's important for an Indian brand to establish a presence in that market, because they are going to flood our market with cheap Chinese textiles. And what we want to do is take value-added Indian textiles to China. So we're looking at opening in our next store, will probably be our 35th store in Guangzhou, China, which used to be called Canton. And then we're going to go, we're going to add to the number of stores we have in Dubai.
60 more retail stores in the next 1 year. You need to find 60 more retail spaces and the right rentals. How are you planning to go about that?
Now take a small town like Pondicherry. Whether you're on one street or another, the whole town can be spanned in 5 minutes. So I mean, really location, 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 which is the mantra in the West, doesn't work in India, because in a town like Dehradun or Pondicherry or take Guwahati, I mean, every place is the center of town, you know. Whether you're on Rajpur Road or just off it hardly makes a difference. It does in a city like Bombay or Delhi or a metro like Calcutta, but in the small towns it doesn't. Typically you get, if you move one street away from the main retailing street, you get a rent which is 1/3 or 1/4 what the other guys are paying.
55% growth rate per annum. Do you ever worry that plagiarism might reduce that number?
Yes, I feel that every retailer should invest, especially those working in our field, whether it's in organic foods or it's in garment design. We need to invest a lot of money on design. And the problem is, without copyright and without copyright laws, we end up being in a situation where the person who knocks us off gets all our advantages with none of the cost. So if we spend 3 crores on design or 4 crores on product development, the guy who knocks us off gets it for free. And in fact, they get that 4 crores subsidy.
All right. It's 11:45. Where are we heading to next?
Well, the next thing that's happening today is that we have a meeting. I'm taking you to Anokhi, where we have a meeting with the head of design there to discuss this issue of copyrights, because it's something that we've been collaborating on. It's something I feel very strongly about, because if we don't get this under control, the money that we spend on designs is wasted for us.
But before we go to Anokhi, William is checking out this store, which is due for completion in the next 15 days.